Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're reviewing the new Catrice Nude Drop Tinted Serum Foundation. I think this is only released a couple of weeks ago, maybe even more recently than that, and I picked it up. So this is what the bottle looks like. I picked it up in the shade 005 Warm. And I already tried this out yesterday and I think the shade is pretty decent on me. I actually couldn't ask for a better shade range or a better shade option from Catrice. Their shades usually run a little bit cool toned and a little bit pink, but this one is nice and warm neutral. So what it says is that it's supposed to be the coverage of a foundation, but it feels like a serum. It's lightweight, it's breathable, and it's buildable with light to medium coverage. It says it's flexible on the skin for long-lasting skin-like results. Smooths and blurs imperfections and blah 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 sensitive skin. And on the front it also says that it has hyaluronic acid and vitamin E. So usually with hyaluronic acid, it's a little bit tricky for me because I think the air in my house is just very dry. So usually it takes the moisture out of my skin instead of putting extra moisture in. So I feel like every time a foundation or a skin tint has hyaluronic acid, I need to use something of a hydrating primer or even an oil. So I already tried this out yesterday and I'll insert some footage right here from me applying it and what the end result looked like. So I was pleasantly surprised by how lightweight this actually is. I wore it for I want to say 7 hours yesterday. It was pretty late in the day, but I managed. And I didn't wear any primer underneath or moisturizer or anything. I guess I usually don't wear moisturizer anyway. But anyway, I tried it in its purest form. I applied it with a brush and I liked the way it looked initially. And I also liked the way it looked at the end of the night. Everywhere in between, let's say from an hour to 5 hours, it looked a little bit dry on me. And I'm sure I'm showing you in a close-up. My skin it needed a little help. It's quite similar to when I used the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation, which looks beautiful on me and is actually one of my favorite foundations. But most days I actually need to use something of a primer oil underneath to make it look its best. And I feel like this is a very similar product. So without a primer, it looked a little bit dry, but the wear time was very decent. And like I said, I feel like it looked even better after a decent couple of hours. Of course, I didn't do the longest wear test. I hope to do at least a 12-hour wear test for you today, or at least 11. So we can know a little bit more. But yeah, so far I'm quite impressed. The finish of this foundation, the way I wore it yesterday, was more of a, I'd say a natural matte even. Like it says here, it's not supposed to be a very glowy foundation. It's supposed to smooth and blur. So any blurring foundation usually isn't very glowy, and this one isn't either. It's just that because it's a little bit more dry, or at least on my skin it looks a little bit more dry, it doesn't do the perfect blurring action. Not on me. But we're going to test it out with a primer today because I just feel like that's a more honest review. But of course I'll keep testing it and I'll update you at the end of the month, or the end of next month, I mean. So with all of that out of the way, shall we just apply it today? Oh, by the way, if you're new here, hi, my name is Cecile. I live in the Netherlands and I like to make videos on makeup and fashion, everything from affordable to luxury and indie as well. And I would love to have you here on my channel, so subscribe if you do like this review. So the primer that I'm going to use is this one, the Beyond the Galaxy Oil Blend Glow Primer from Kruidvat. I think this is what I use underneath my NARS foundation, and it's not really that glowy. It's mainly an oil. So I'm not going to use too much of this. This also comes in a little dropper, so I'm just putting a little bit in my hands. And this is just going to help make the foundation look a little bit smoother on me. So I wouldn't say I have dry skin. I think I have normal skin, but especially right after showering, which I just did, it does sometimes leave a little bit of texture on my skin. But On the other hand, if I prime too much or if a foundation is too glowy or too dewy, then I do get some oil stains around my nose and my forehead after a couple of hours. So since I tested this foundation yesterday, I know this is fine, but I think if you have oily skin, this is not necessary. Let me zoom you in so you can really take a good look at my skin. So this is what we're dealing with. I have a couple of small breakouts I usually do, but nothing too intense. I have some discoloration, some post-blemish marks. I guess I don't really feel like I have a lot of problem areas, but I do like a bit of a smoothing or a sort of unifying factor in my foundations. I also don't mind a bit more full coverage, but I think the coverage of this product takes care of all this perfectly. So for my lighting situation, I have natural light over there, and then I have a daylight lamp right over there just to match the window lighting. So it's half-half. So you just squeeze the little pipette and I'll show you. So this is how much comes out. It's pretty decent. The pipette works and it's pretty runny. So if I tilt my hand to the side, it will run, but it's not quite as liquidy as you might think it would be. I'm just going to start off with about 1.5 filling. And the brush that I'll be using is this foundation brush. It's a very heavy or dense, I should say, foundation brush. I think it's not natural hair, it's synthetic, and it's from Boozy Shop. And this is the same brush that I used yesterday. So it's already blended out quite well. This is what it looks like on half of my face. As you can see, my redness makes this part of my face look a lot darker, but you can see that this matches my neck. So when everything is covered and bronzed up and stuff, this looks quite good on me. I think the shade is actually one of the better shades I've ever found at the drugstore. As far as coverage is concerned, I'm also quite happy. I had a red spot here, I have a birthmark and another red spot here. They're pretty much covered. If I'd want, I could use a little bit more concealer or something, but I don't usually do that. And as you can see, it did cover my redness quite well. The only thing that I find a little bit interesting, I have this spot here. I'm not sure what it is. I think I must have picked at it or something, and you can still see that, but it's actually not even that dark, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But I'd say this is a nice light medium coverage, which for me is perfect. It does feel so light. It's honestly great. A lot of foundations that claim to be lightweight are actually quite heavy for me for some reason, but this one, after a couple of hours yesterday, I felt like, I actually don't really feel this itching or just, don't feel it at all, actually. It's just that it felt a little bit drier than I would like. So let me also do the other half of my face. I think this is a kind of foundation that Catrice needed, because they have their regular skin tint, which I reviewed a little while ago. But that's very light coverage and not very long wearing and quite a bit more dewy. And then they have a couple of more full coverage foundations. And I feel like this is a nice happy medium that they really needed. So I tried to build it up a little bit on top of that weird spot. And it did work a little bit. So they do claim it's buildable. I don't usually build my foundations, but for the sake of the review, I tried it. And yeah, I think it definitely helped. I don't really see that spot anymore at all. And it doesn't look too heavy either. So this is what it looks like with the glowing primer underneath. Of course it needs to set down a little bit more, but I like this a lot more than what you just saw on the footage on my phone from yesterday. It just looks a little bit more actually natural and not dry this way. So let me quickly do a face of makeup. I can't promise it won't. I can't really make any promises on how it's going to go. It just always has a mind of its own, I feel. But I'm going to try and keep it a little bit more light, and then I'll show you what it looks like with a full face. So this is my finished look that I did with the Catrice product. Let me quickly fill you in on what I used. I used my Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Concealer. I used only powder products for the rest of my face just to make sure that none of the dew caused by the foundation was actually caused by the cream product. So I used a little bit of my NYX powder foundation. Only right here and a little bit on my nose, but nowhere else. And then I also used my Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. This is from this palette. This is from the Bronze and Glow Duo. It's a matte bronzer, soft matte, but still not glowy. Then I used a little bit of the Truffle palette. Wait, let me show you the shade. This shade over here as my blush, also a little bit on my nose. And then I couldn't help myself and I had to use a little bit of highlighter because I just feel like it finishes the look. So I used a little bit of my peach highlighter from the Dior Rosy Glow palette. That's all that's on my face. I only put highlighter right here and a little bit there. So all the other glow is actually caused by the foundation at the moment. And then just to finish it up, I did my brows with the Catrice brow gel and the Lift and Snatch from NYX. I used the Barbie eyeshadow palette on my eyes and the Essence Lash Princess on my lashes. And then I used my Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Angel Alessandra with the yellow Barbie lip gloss. So that is all you missed. Let me zoom you in real close and we can take a look at the skin. Because honestly, I feel like it's looking great. And I know you saw the footage of how it looked yesterday. And I definitely feel like it looks a little bit more smooth and natural at the moment. It is a little bit glowy, but it's not very tacky. A little bit, but not extremely. And it doesn't immediately leave a mark when you touch your face. So I think with the oil, it looks great. I hope it lasts like this, and otherwise, yeah, you have to pick your poison. Do you want it lasting a long time, which it definitely does when you don't wear a primer or not a glowy primer? Or do you want it to look fabulous from the start? That's what we're going to find out. So this is what we're working with. It is now 1 o'clock, so I'm going to try and stay up till midnight. It could be that I don't update you in a video type of setting because I would like to upload this evening, so I could do my final verbal check-in at about 8 or 9 and then write something in a pinned comment about how it wore the last couple of hours. But for your information, usually around the 8-hour mark is when my foundation doesn't really change a lot anymore. Of course, after 16-20 hours, then it'll get off my face, but you know, I'm as a normal skin person, it really comes down to that 1 to 8 hour mark usually for me, but I'll try and wear it for 12 hours. So let me finish this part of the video here and I'll see you in a couple of hours for our first check-in. Hello and welcome to my first check-in. It's been about 4-ish hours. It's now 5:15 and I have some thoughts. So immediately after I applied it, or after I finished all of my makeup, I went to my boyfriend and I asked him, how does it look? He of course commented other things, so I asked him, how does the foundation look? And he said that it looked a little bit makeup-y, that he could see it a little bit more than other foundations, and he also said that you could see my skin texture a little bit more. So he compared it to moon craters, which of course is not something you want to hear, but I think I understand what he means. I would say it's more of a slight orange type of skin. So I don't know if you can see, but you can definitely sort of see tiny little bumps and pores, and I'd say it's a little bit more than with other foundations. And then there's another problem, because this was just right after, and I could say that, well, it was still acceptable, I think. It's not the prettiest finish, but it wasn't the ugliest either, and I definitely have to try it again with even a different type of primer, maybe a more blurring one. But I have to say that even though this foundation calls itself blurring, I wouldn't say it is. Not really. Because I don't usually deal with a lot of skin texture. So yeah, for me that was interesting at least. So what is happening now after about 4 hours is that it's sort of looking a little bit dry in some places and then gathering a little bit in other places. I would say that it didn't start out with the most even of coverages, but now that effect is definitely getting a little bit worse. So especially around my mouth here, it's not bad. Definitely if I go a little bit like this, it's not bad at all. It's nice and glowy. It didn't fade away. There aren't very noticeable creases. It's just when you go a little bit more up close, it just doesn't look as natural as I would maybe like it to be. So that's my update for right now. I'll see if I can squeeze in another 4 or 8 hours and then I'll show you what it looks like. Hello, it's now time for my 10 o'clock update. I've been wearing this foundation for about 9 hours now and I'll keep wearing it, but like I said, I want to upload the video tonight and it takes a really long time for me to get something to actually fully upload, especially the HD conversion. So I have to start right now if I want to do it before I go to bed. But I can still adjust the description box, still pretty late in the process, so I will. Probably around 12 o'clock update it once more. And well, I can tell you right now that maybe the oil was a bit too much, but not even that much too much, but just a little bit. So I want to say that around here, it does this weird thing where it sort of looks dry, but it's probably because it broke up. So it's just a little bit patchy, but this is not usually, this is a pretty dry area for me. So this could use the oil. On the other hand, the parts right here around my nose, they are usually the oiliest, and also my forehead. And they held up pretty fine. They're a little bit dewy, but I like that. So they went perfectly. And then the other parts are sort of in between. I still feel like my texture is quite enhanced, but on the other hand, especially from a little bit farther away, I feel like it looks nice and glowy. The coverage just isn't fully even. I think that is my problem. So I'll keep wearing it. My verdict for right now is give it a try. It's not that expensive. It's definitely doable. I feel like since I used it on more dry, normal skin and more oily skin with the oil, and it worked out pretty well. The wear time is pretty good. I would say you can give it a try, whatever your skin type is, and let me know how it works out for you. For now, yeah, check the description box, see if this was the way it stayed for the next couple of hours. And yeah, I'll keep wearing it. I feel like this will go very well with my YSL Blur Primer, maybe. Just something to try. But I'm not happy with the fact that my boyfriend said I had moon craters on my face. For that, I do have to take off some points here. So I hope this review was helpful to you. Maybe check out some other reviews as well. You probably will anyway. But maybe this is the kind of foundation that you need different set of eyes on. So thank you so much for watching and hopefully I will see you in the next one.